Hi, everybody. Sam here. I am so excited to be here with my new friend, Becca. And we've been talking a little bit before we hit record about how mental health is so important, especially for every phase of your life, but especially when you're a mama with a newer baby, 5-month old, you said, plus some older kids. And mental health is so important in taking time for ourselves. But we may talk more about that in a minute. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. But I'm so excited that you're here for another micro interview. If you have been around for a while, we're so glad you came back. If you just found us and this is the first time seeing my face or hearing my voice on social media or even in the community, so glad you are here. I truly believe you can create any life or business you love, one choice at a time, and possibly something that Becca or I say today during this micro interview to be exactly what you need to hear. Becca, I would love for you to share what I like to call your superhero origin story.
All right. Hi, I'm Rebecca Batista. Most people call me Coach Becca. I am a mom of three now, and I am a board certified behavior analyst by trade. That's what I do. And I decided to apply that to the sphere of finances. Unfortunately, my father had passed away 4 years ago. And upon his passing is when I realized that for my kids, I would like to be financially transparent and talk about money. And so that kind of spurred the whole movement that I'm working on right now of unmuted money, basically talk and be free. And yeah, it was from realizing that as a kid, my parents didn't talk about money, that there was a lot of money shame around that. And that's why it was so quiet. And then as an adult, you're just like, whew, here you go. You're out in the world
Good
and no one
luck.
talks about it. Yeah. So it's okay. And yeah, just the realization that I need to be a good role model to my kids. And the best way to make them feel confident is to talk about anything and everything. And that means money too.
And that means money too. That is so good. And I just know that everybody, or I would guess that everybody listening is probably thinking, oh, wow, yeah, when I was a kid, we didn't talk about that at all. It wasn't like only in your family. That's just the way it was.
Mhm.
And, and they certainly don't teach you about it in school. And yeah,
So I know that a lot of states are pushing now for personal finance. So there are courses and classrooms being taught here in Tennessee. They just made it a requirement for high school. But even still, it's much different to apply it academically than to talk about it in a personal sense of how it relates to your current going on and happenings. Because the textbook's not going to really cover about, hey, you got into a car accident and now you have to pay your deductible and get a new car and roll over a loan. Like, no one talks about those things.
no,
They're
yeah,
just
you're
like,
right. They don't.
hey,
And what if you don't have the right amount of insurance and then you're stuck like Chuck owing a lot more,
or
right?
that the other person has no insurance, so you get nothing for your car. So yeah, there's been a lot of fun situations that can happen in one's life that no one's prepared for. And it would be easier, in my opinion, if more people talked about those type of things, where all of a sudden it's like, oh, hey, I'm not alone, because nobody is alone when it comes to the realm of money touches everything in your life. It touches everything in that next person's life, and there's going to be someone who's had an experience similar to yours.
Yeah, you are very wise. I wish I knew any of that stuff when I was in my, however young you are now. I'm not going to say that's between you and you. But yeah, so yeah, the earlier we can learn these things in our life, I'm being silly about the age thing, but truly, the
Mhm.
earlier we can learn about these things in our life and then pass that on to our kids and our grandkids, because we were talking, and I've got grandkids your kids' ages. And so when I think about the journey that they're going to go on,
Mhm.
how different it's going to be when their mom is willing to have open conversations about real things. And I know I see her doing that in other areas. I don't know about the money piece, but it's so true that if you shine the light on it, you talk about it, then there's no shame. It's just what it is. It's
Mhm.
a tool that gets you from where you are to where you need to
You
be
want to be, yep.
possibly. And Yeah, there's so many different facets to that. So I'm glad that there's people out there like you that are charging forward with this movement to make sure you can have those unmuted conversations,
Mhm.
which I really love. So the cornerstone of these micro interviews is when I ask the guests to share a tip, thought, or piece of advice. So I would love to hear, even though you've already given some pretty good advice, what your thought would be or a tip that might impact everybody listening today.
So I know this is like a cliche. I'm sure you've heard it with other people or in other realms of the space, but you're not going to become confident. You'll never be perfect. You'll never know everything you need to know unless you do it. So when it comes to my realm, which is money confidence, the only way you're going to become confident is if you start talking about it now. That's the only way to make it less scary. Because if you don't talk about it, it just builds up in your mind and it gets much worse than really what it is.
That's so good. And that can be applied to so many areas of
Mhm.
our life. And we probably apply that to our life in a
Yep.
lot of other areas. I think of it just with a task management thing of having to do a particular task. I
Hmm.
personally believe that procrastination is a gift, that it means that you probably are about to try and do something that you are not the one that should be
Hmm.
doing it. But sometimes you're procrastinating. And when you procrastinate or you think, oh, I need to do that, I need to do that. I need to do that. And I'm like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And you spend more time thinking about
Hmm.
the fact that you don't want to do it than it would have taken to just do it.
Do it. Yep. That avoidance
Right.
is like a big thing, especially. So a lot of people are introspective and will reflect on what's going on, but they don't realize that by perseverating those thoughts, they make a bigger deal out of a smaller thing. So and I understand it because no one talks about it. So everyone just assumes the only time you talk about it is when it's critical, when it's an emergency. And that shouldn't be the case. You shouldn't only talk about money when stuff is about to hit the fan. You should be talking about it well before then.
Because, yeah. So you're right. With waiting until it's too late to do something about it. And that's usually when a situation that kind of bubbles to the top. And you're
Hmm.
like, oh, now I have to deal with it. But if you had just dealt with it before, like when it was down here, instead of waiting till it was up here, and that's just the truth with just about everything in life.
Pretty
And I
much
think
everything.
that we, because you mentioned shame around money, because there so many of us have that, whether it's good or bad, or having a lot or not a lot, or what it takes to get by, or judgments around it as well. So we just don't talk about it at all. And so if somebody wanted to start with their family or with someone that they love to have a conversation about money,
Hmm.
just to start the conversation, do you have one little tip or thought or something that you could share?
Yeah, so my basic suggestion is to treat it as a curiosity, not like something that you are trying to like prescribe or force on somebody. So if you're afraid to talk about debt with somebody, or if you're afraid to just talk about money in general, you could just start it off with a question of, hey, I was thinking about a new way to look at our finances. And that's a curiosity. They'll be like, oh, what way? And then you guys can just start flowing from there and talking about it. If you just go in and be like, hey, I want to talk about money, let's come and sit down. Most people go into like defensive mode and they're like, I don't want to talk about it. Is there a problem? And so you just want to start it off easy with, oh, hey, I read something and it talks about this. Is that something that you think would work with us or me or my situation? I want to talk about it a little bit more. Those type of ways of talking to a person makes it much easier to have the conversation than going in like directly.
One of the coaches I still work with on a regular basis is a relationship coach. You don't ever start with, we need to talk.
Oh, no, never. Everyone, it's just ingrained. Everyone's like, okay, what
And no.
rate's going up? You're like, oh no. Then you start thinking way worse thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah. And so one of the phrases he used is this, I'd like to run something by you.
And that's a great tip for
Can,
anything, including
yeah, can I get your feedback on this? Or
and
yeah,
people love giving their
yeah,
opinion. So
Oh
if
yeah, they
you're
do.
giving them the option to give their opinions, you make them feel seen, you make them feel mattered, and they're like, oh yeah, and they're defensive.
But
They-
then when they do, you have to actually acknowledge it. Even if it's not something you're going to do, you have to honor the fact that they shared with you. Because if you
Yes.
ask for their feedback and you're like, oh, that's a bad idea, then
Yeah,
they're not going to be as willing to share again
next
later.
time.
Yeah,
And
especially if you're asking somebody that you trust. Like, even if they say something that you don't agree with, because just because somebody says something doesn't make it true.
that's true.
But if they share with you, honor that.
The other thing too is some people go gun ho and they'll be like, yes, I'm gonna go straight to my spouse. But if that makes you the most worried, go to your best friend. Go to a coworker. You don't want to go to a coworker? All right, find somebody at a park and just it doesn't have to be somebody you know intimately, very deeply, in order to start building those muscles or the habit of being able to talk about it. So give yourself grace. You don't have to go gun ho and go straight for the jugular, straight for the person that you're after. Baby step it. It's okay. The whole point is if you're transparent, the next person will be transparent, and then they'll talk to their kids or their friends or their family, and it becomes just a ripple effect. And that's what we want. We want money conversations to feel natural, like something that just happens. We don't need it to feel like it's a prescribed thing that has to happen and only when stuff happens.
Yeah, that is so good. Becky, I'm so excited to be connected to you. I'm so excited to be able to share this with the women on social media and in the community. I'll make sure that your links to where they can get connected to you are around this video, wherever they're watching or listening. Do you have any closing thought before we wrap up for today?
Honestly, it is community. So join communities like Sam's because that's exactly where you will find people who are willing to talk about what you need to talk about and things that other people don't want to talk about. Find a group that you can be a part of. And it sounds like Sam's got a great one. So I would definitely be in there and just start practicing. You can practice online, you can practice in person. It doesn't matter. Conversations happen in a multitude of ways.
Yes, you are so wise. I appreciate you truly, and I love your spirit of just be curious and baby step it a little bit at a time, just start the conversation. And so I truly hope that the women that are listening, that they will reach out to you if they have any questions, because I think that you have some feedback that could probably, maybe you'd be able to start that conversation with them. Who knows? Maybe you're the one.
Yeah, I always tell people like, hey, I'm a money confidence coach. All that means is I'm a safe space to talk about money to give you enough confidence to do it with somebody else.
Oh, that's so good. Thank you so much, Becca. Have a great day.
Thank you, you too.